taking a critical look at the gaming news of the week. This is Augmented Reality, presented by the Triple S League.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Augmented Reality Podcast for April 3rd, 2018. How's everybody doing out there? Let us know in the chat. We love hearing from you. My name is Asheninity, and I am here powered by Pure Hype as always, although I have a little bit of a hype deficit this morning, a little tired. Hopefully we'll power through anyway, though, so hopefully you guys need to hype me up, because we want this to be high energy and awesome, and you folks in chat, you always make it that way. So, I'm glad to see there's already so many people talking. Hello, NNN, and hello, Darth Raver. So, Darth Raver, who says, digging the new intro, and then frowny face. I'm assuming that was a typo.
I hope so.
Unless you meant you're also, digging a grave for it.
Me yet, so you must be really tired.
That voice that you're hearing right there is Obsidian. How are you, sir?
I am doing pretty good. I am perplexed today, and we shall discuss my perplexiveness. I don't think that's a word, but we shall discuss it today. Yes.
As long as we're not discussing your complexion, I'm all good with that. So if you're listening live today, please say hello in the live chat. Send us your questions and comments there as well. We will read and respond to as many as we can throughout the podcast. Super chats and questions from sponsors are guaranteed to be read aloud as long as they conform to basic standards of human decency. And with that, we will dive right into the news. Hello, Reed Gamers, or I'm gonna go with Reed Gamers. Let me know if I'm pronouncing that wrong. And Darth Raver says, if I need a reason to get hyped, think about the fact that E3 is 2 months away. Woo! Okay.
Yes, it's coming. It's coming close.
That's true.
Oh boy, is this going to be a big one?
We're less than 3 months away. Well, it's in June, and we're in April, so 2.5 months. 2 months. I can't remember when in June it is. I should know that.
It's June starts officially more or less like on the 9th. We'll start getting some info. I like shortly before that too. So we are about 2 months away exactly at this point, because we're going to be getting stuff. Stuff is going to start leaking about 2 weeks prior to, because at that point everything's locked in, and the ease of access for people to get, glimpses of things is going to be pretty simple. And then the day that everybody starts setting up, just like if you remember way back to when Fallout 4 was being released, there was this big Fallout 4 banner and area that they were setting up in, and some people snuck a camera in to that area inside a box and was taking some video footage of because at that point, we had just gotten the announcement, but we hadn't seen any gameplay. Like we had the announcement on the on Bethesda's thing, right? And we knew that the game was coming, we just didn't know when. And some people stuck some cameras in, and so we're gonna get stuff like that, no doubt. Again, a little bit, maybe not necessarily as epic or whatever, but we are going to get that kind of content. It's gonna start, gushing out here probably by probably I'd say at the end of I'd say by the very beginning of June at the very latest. So.
Mm-hmm. So prepare yourselves for the gush. Mm-hmm. That just sounds so wrong. So, have you ever wanted a job at...
River, and you're apparently thinking of something weird.
Yeah, well, my brain goes strange places. People who watch my videos, they already know that. So, have you ever wanted a job at CD Projekt Red? Well, if you can't get one, maybe someone close to you can. Maybe a furry companion with 4 legs. CD Projekt Red is looking for a designer of game environments, DOGE. They're looking for an experienced doge to shake paws with. Responsibilities include digging up bugs, fetching missing code, and sniffing up plot holes. We are seeking for a gifted canine with a positive attitude, able to balance tasks on their nose. You will be working closely with a small team on a quest to finally catch your own tail. I hadn't read this whole thing yet, so this is actually posted in the jobs section on CD Projekt Red's website.
Still is, as of today.
It's still up there.
I will drop this link in the chat because those of our audience might be interested in making some funny applications, and I'm sure these will be posted at some point in the near future. So I would surmise so, because I'm going to assume that they're going to get some pretty clever responses, and they'll want to share at least some of them. So let me just drop this in the chat here, and feel free. We're gonna have a little response video to this sometime pretty soon, just because it's so funny. I love how much humor they have, and the fact that, like, I mean, this is an April Fool's thing, obviously, and April Fool's this year, whenever it's on a weekend, it's never as big as when it's on like a Monday or a Tuesday, because people aren't really paying attention, especially when it's on a Sunday. People really aren't paying attention on a Sunday.
Well, especially when it's on Easter Sunday. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And yes, Darth Raver, Doge stands for Designer of Game Environments. That's what it stands for. Again, well, here's some of the daily responsibilities: optimizing tail wagging, debugging the lawn.
Yep.
By doing what exactly? Reformulating geometry of household items and identifying your coworkers by smells.
Yep.
No indication on what their policy is on cross-species butt sniffing, so you might want to inquire about that. Also, please include a portfolio of your top 5 tricks. So,
required skills and experience: 1+ year experience in understanding human beings, experience with wagging tail, and cheerfully problem solving.
They're setting the bar pretty low. Give above average high fives.
Giving above average high fives.
Nice.
Strong interest in knowing how your own tail tastes. Avid and passionate bone chaser. Experience in standing on 2 legs is a plus. That's funny. There's some things I could say in that.
Well, someone in chat is saying that the page is not found, so I'm going to keep this open so that just in case they took it down. Just in case they took it down, I'm keeping this open because we're going to be doing a video on this. So, yeah.
I refreshed it. About an hour ago, and it was still there. So if it's not there anymore,
then they just took it down, because I brought this up. I only opened this link about 10 minutes ago. So
yeah.
Anyway, so that was of course posted on April 1st. So good on them. We didn't get any actual game news or anything, but we got something from CD Projekt Red. And if you've been following our content, you know we will pretty much love anything that CD Projekt Red puts out. We love hearing from them.
Except for garbage. We don't like garbage from anybody. We're not sycophants. But we
of course not. But when's the last time?
We have no evidence that CDPR is going to drop the ball on this. Everything we're seeing and hearing about this game is great. So, and we know that there's not microtransactions. So basically, if the game comes out and it's just riddled with bugs, that would be about the worst thing that could happen, because it's an open world. You always make your own fun in open world, so you're not really like. I've mentioned this many times before. I finished Skyrim, like the main quest, like twice tops. I think actually only once. Yeah, only once did I actually like finish the main story of the dragons all the way through. At no point have I, during my thousands of hours of playing, or hundreds of hours of playing, I should probably say, have I ever done anything other than, just have fun and explore. And as long as they can nail that part of it, then the official storyline doesn't really matter so much. Like you can hop in, just have fun.
This is why I love Kingdom Come Deliverance so much. It's one of the few games where I enjoy just walking around and experiencing the environment. I don't know if that's ever happened to me in a game before. Like I love the environment of Witcher 3. I love Fallout 4, but I don't remember a game before where I could just walk through the forest and enjoy just taking a walk in a video game. It's all the best parts of walking without all that pesky exercise. And the sound effects, like the real 3D sound effects all around your head kind of thing, it's really neat. I love it. But yeah, if they could accomplish that in Cyberpunk 2077, where you just can walk around the world and just really enjoy it, that'll be fantastic. All right, so on to our headline story for the day. So there was some news leaked about the PlayStation 5, and it's got some gamers a little bit salty. So what's happening there, Saib?
Okay, so let me give you the whole rundown. Now, we did have this conversation with Mad Queen on the Sunday. We had a good rundown of it, but some people took it as a April Fool's Day joke, which was kind of horribly sad. But let's run down it again. But first, I have a question for you guys. So I run a massive computer company, and we're launching a brand new laptop. So I'm going to put the laptop together with current technology that I have available today, and I'm going to get it all, as best as I can get it today, and then I'm going to ship it out to a handful of people to test it and to kind of work with it, and then I'm going to debut it to the world and try and sell it as the top, best, most advanced laptop anybody has ever had in 3 years. Is that going to sell, or is that going to do good, you think?
I think it'll sell well as a cutting board.
3 years. 3 years from now, I'm going to release it.
Maybe a nice paperweight.
Yeah. This is what I don't understand about people who are really upset about this. And I'm very confused. I'm confused on a number of cases. And I really, really please leave comments and your like leave as much information as you can on this, because this is highly perplexing to me. I do not understand why people are upset about the prospect of a PlayStation 5 coming this year or next. I really have no idea why people are upset about this. I can't figure it out. I do not understand it at all. It's like causing like an error 404 in my head. So, but here's the thing. So we know now at this point, the information coming out is coming out from too many sources and from too many places for anybody to even get close to denying that certain third-party companies already have access to the PS5 dev kit. Why would PlayStation break all of their history of working on their games and in their titles? Why on earth would they break what they've done up to this point by having a system of way of dealing with the product? They ship the dev kit, and then less than a year later, they release the PlayStation 4, whatever number, 4, 3, 2. It was all done the same way. Dev kit goes out about slightly less than a year, usually about a year or a little less later, it gets shipped to market. Right. Why on earth would they change that? And I read an article today. There's a couple articles out today. They're saying that the PS5 is coming out 2020 or 2021. Why on earth would you develop a console, develop technology and hardware for that console, and then sit on it for 4 years? Why would you do that? Why would that make any sense to anybody? Like, why does anybody in the industry think that that's actually like a legitimate thing?
That doesn't make any sense at all. Yeah, because the dev kit means that, okay, the hardware's at a state where you can start developing games for it. In 3 years, the hardware landscape's going to look completely different. The gaming landscape's going to be completely different. The second Cyberpunk game might be out. Like,
well, I mean, technology moves at such a rapid pace, and this is one of the reasons why. Yeah. They just announced ray tracing for AMD and NVIDIA. NVIDIA had this amazing, hilarious video of a couple stormtroopers walking around the one of the ships in the new series. Really funny, far more entertaining than the last movie they've done, but really hilarious. Stabby at Star Wars. And like, that technology has just been announced. So that technology is going to be out on graphics cards by the end of this year. Which is
insane, by the way.
We'll cover that a little bit later, like what ray tracing is and stuff like that. You've got some information on that, but just quickly, like, if that happens and they haven't included that in the current technology, and they've already shipped these dev kits, and that's not on that technology, and they wait 3 years to launch it, they're going to be 3 years behind ray tracing technology in video games. Like, again, I'm really confused. I have no idea why people think that this is a thing.
Well, yeah.
If
the dev kit is out, and like you said, there have been a lot of leaks saying that the dev kits are out.
Now we have confirmed no less than 3 major publishers have their hands on a dev kit. I have personally confirmed this. So I know of 3 major developers who have their hands on PS5 dev kits, and I have been told, without being confirmed, by about another 3 that they do in fact are working on the dev kit. Now I'm not the only person to have confirmed this either. I'm not some maverick when it comes to this leak. There was one fellow who called this out a couple months ago. Props to him. And then there's also been a great deal of other people confirming this. There's been some nods to certain technology groups. CDPR even had kind of a bit of a nod saying that they've developed their game for the next gen. Well, how can you develop for the next gen if you don't have the technology for the next gen? Like how do you know what if it's true that the next consoles are not due out for, say, 4.5 to 5 years from now, and that's what some people are calling for, which means that the PS4 will be around for more than a decade, which is ludicrous. If that's the case, then how on earth can he possibly know what technology will be like in 5 years? Like, come on, that's ridiculous. That would be an irresponsible statement from a guy who's never made an irresponsible statement before, as far as I can tell, as far as it comes to gaming. Like he called his shots perfectly on The Witcher 3. He called his shots perfectly on The Witcher 2. So why would he make that lie? So, and then all these other people. Yes, we know that the Dev 5 kits for the PlayStation have been sent out. We know that Microsoft is working on their next console.
So why are people upset about it? I mean, it's one thing to
I don't know. I have no idea.
Is it because they have to buy another console?
Well, it's like if you're shocked that you have to buy another console every 3 years, I mean, I'm personally flabbergasted. Like, I mean, the kind of buying now. This year might be a little early. Now, 2019 definitely. If it's not out this year, it's definitely out by 2019. But in either case, what were you expecting? Were you expecting your PlayStation to sit on your counter for 6 years? Like, most people buy the upgraded Pro at some point within the next 3 years, and then some people past that will buy it, after 3 years after that. But I honestly, at this point, I find it really hard to believe that it is coming out in 2019. I think it's coming out this year, and I think there'll be a big announcement for that. That is what I'm going to say. Now, I might be wrong. It might be announced for 2019. They might just give a sneak peek of it this year. But I do find that really hard to believe. I find that hard to believe because of accessibility and availability to the market. So what is this year that next year doesn't have? This year for sure doesn't have a Microsoft console. Next year might have a Microsoft console. 2020 most likely will have a new Microsoft console, almost for certain. But 2019, there's a chance that if Microsoft were to put their back into it, that they could get one shipped out by then. Now, if it's the case that they don't want to, which is a pretty good guess, they do not want to have another console war. You don't want to sell your next console at the same time that your biggest competitor is selling their console. And right now, Nintendo's got nothing scheduled for this year. There's a possibility they might have something scheduled for 2019 that's a little early, and the same thing with Nintendo. However, if you were to make an announcement this year that you're putting out your game console for next year, then you're gonna for sure have some competition. But if you make a surprise announcement for this year, that guarantees that you will run the market at the end of this year. And if you run and control the market, then that's huge. When you sell 2 competing consoles at the same time, what happens is you get into a bit of a price war, which means you aren't making as much on each console as you'd like to. And then also you're dealing with a lot of people who only have enough money for one, and they have to make a choice.
Right.
And for some people, and I have seen this in the store, for some people, they couldn't decide, and they got to the store, they looked at it, and they flipped a coin. Okay, do you want your business? Do you want 5% of your business market, 10% of your business market, 15, 20% of your business market making a forced purchase between one or your competitor? If you launch and you're the only thing out that year, you're going to get so many more people just buying that one product. So it's a highly smart business move to launch it in 2018 and to take the market when it's solo. Like, that's huge.
So it sounds like a gaming war is better for gamers in some ways, or a console war is better for gamers, but the companies want to avoid that somewhat, which I I see why they'd want to. Yeah.
Imagine with the last two of these. Imagine if you had Microsoft not have to compete at all. You would have had that always on. You always have your Xbox has to log in, or it will brick itself within 24 hours.
Oh, geez.
You have to have you can't share games, you can't trade games. You have to pay a monthly subscription just to access your games. Like, imagine if they didn't have any competition on that, where we'd be with the gaming market. It would be disgusting. It would be horrible. And so I think this is I think that's there. Now
I still can't believe they did that.
Now this is at the moment I'm making this guess based off of purely just the generalized speculation, then business savvy, what would most companies want to do. Now let's dig a little deeper and look at, well, okay, what games could possibly come out for and why would you, the PS4 is having an amazing year as far as games goes. Why would you risk messing that up? Well, you don't risk messing that up if you have backwards compatibility for all of your games that are coming out this year on the next PlayStation. So that means that if you buy a game in August and you don't have to buy another version of that game in November when the new PlayStation comes out, that means that there will be no hiccup in sales for video games at all.
I could see PlayStation taking a big bite of the market.
Mm-hmm.
With it, with that alone. If I was a console player, and I had to flip a coin, like you said, and it came down to, on the PlayStation, I can play all these older games that I could buy secondhand or that I already own, as well as the new games. That would sell it for me. That would sell it for me over the Xbox in half a second.
But this is the thing that the Xbox has over the PlayStation, is that there is no backwards compatibility at all. It's not a thing. It never has been in the PlayStation world. So,
but the Xbox does have that.
But the Xbox has had that for quite a while, yeah.
Okay.
And you'd say, well, but PlayStation has never done this. Well, it's true they've never done it, but they are gearing up to do this for the PlayStation 5 for sure.
All right. Well, that'll
hands down 100%. They are preparing to do this for the PlayStation 5 because they have and we talked about this on the podcast, which is up on our channel. You can check that out. Basically, what that is it's not out yet, but it will be. And what that is that Bad Queen did some digging and she found a confirmation on a patent for backwards compatibility for the PlayStation that Sony has renewed and has updated in the last year. So that clearly goes to show that they are moving into that field and they want to get that out and they want to get it working. And what better way to expose it to when you're having a great console year for your current generation to say any games that you buy today, you're going to be able to plug into for the next PlayStation, and it's going to come with like an upgrade 4K graphics resolution pack when you buy that. That for a lot of people, they're going to be really happy. They're going to be happy because they don't have to buy 2 copies of Beyond Good and Evil. They don't have to buy 2 copies of The Last of Us 2. They don't have to buy 2 copies of Cyberpunk 2077. They don't have to buy 2 copies of whatever Bethesda's coming out with this year, because you can take 1 copy and play it on both machines.
They can put a sticker on that game that says, "Will work with PlayStation 5."
Yeah, and for a second you might be saying, well, are the companies behind this? Well, a lot of the companies are behind this, because then that means for any of the companies that have microtransactions built into their games, they're going to be able to sell you upgraded, exclusive DLC for the new PlayStation, and then and that's the way they make most of their money on games that feature microtransactions. But if you're playing another game that's more DLC focused, and they don't really do the microtransactions, but they do have like big DLC expansions, they might be able to say, in a year from now, so next year, or a year and a half or 2 years from now, they might come out with some DLC that's exclusive to the PlayStation 5, and at that point, most people have already transferred over at that point. And so
Darth Raver makes a good point here. He says, if it's coming as early as 2019, it pretty much has to have backwards compatibility. Because there's so many good games out for PS4 and that are still yet to come out for the PlayStation 4. If the PlayStation 5 comes out next year or this year and doesn't have backwards compatibility, that's just basically a huge middle finger to their own fan base.
And you don't want to do that. But if you have this backwards compatibility system built in, then that's great. And as far as we can tell, that this is definitely what they've been aiming at, because from what we're starting to hear about the dev kits, which people have their hands on, which is at this point, which is a pretty irrefutable point. Like it's extremely impossible to say that it's not out there, because so many companies are already looking forward to the next generation.
And that kind of plays into the whole thing about when it's coming out as well, and with this whole ray tracing thing. I mean, obviously if it's in the hands of people that are currently developing games, those game companies, if say their games are scheduled for next year or the year after that, and so they're building it to work with the new ray tracing technology, are they going to want to delay the release of their games until 2020, 2021?
Well, and that's the thing. There's a lot of games out there right now that have, they're scheduling their release date for this fall, and if that's not a thing, then they're stuck between these two things that Scott, absolutely, Mark Turning was the one who applied, or he was part of the patent for that. So it's what's expected, and it's what's hoped for when you have these transitions, because transitions are always kind of weird. You always have this kind of like this last hurrah, and sometimes the games don't sell very well, because people are really excited for and they're like, oh no, I'm just gonna hold on to my money. I'm not gonna buy this because it's gonna be old news in 3 months, or 6 months, or even a year. And so people think like that. So if they announce that they're going to have this backwards compatibility, then you can upgrade anywhere between, this November and probably 2019. And it's going to be the only console that's out there for a whole year. It's going to be the best, newest console with a whole bunch of stuff that's exclusively made for it. The Scorpion's out there right now, but there's nothing to play on it. It's got all this power, but there's literally nothing to play on it. And the PlayStation's really lacking in that power right now. For some of these games that are coming out, as you know, we have our sources in certain companies. It's a lot of people who have said that they're pushing the PlayStation 4 Pro to its absolute limits, and it cannot handle what they're creating.
That's just not good.
It just can't handle it. And they have to come up with all these ways to make it run a little bit less in quality, just so they can run it on the darn thing. And this was the news that we were hearing for the past year on a lot of this development. And they're saying, and the thing kept coming back, Sony needs to do something. They're going to come up with a new thing, and we've been expecting it for a while. The rumors have been around for a long time, but now it's starting to hit a fever pitch. So PS5 2018 is my bet. I think 2019 is also a good bet. 2020 is an absolute laughable joke. If anybody says it's coming in 2020, that's absolutely ridiculous. Why would you come out with a dev kit for 3 years, have it sit around on people's shelves, and not have anything to do with it? So yes, bear that in mind. Check that out.
So let's talk about this new technology that's coming out with the new console hardware. So, or I'm assuming it's going to be part of the console hardware, because you're saying that this new live ray tracing technology is going to be available in graphics cards by the end of this year. Is that correct?
Yeah. It's from so at the GDC, it was announced back on the 21st that they're going to have ray tracing on the new graphics cards, AMD and NVIDIA. NVIDIA kind of led the show, but AMD said as well that they are incorporating this technology. So this is this is really big because of the importance of like this is groundbreaking technology that will change the direction of the gaming industry as far as graphics goes. It's a big step. We're going to see a lot more cooler effects. We're going to be able to have a lot more cooler things. It's not going to be like looking at like plastic models anymore, or what looks like plastic models, or it's a big step forward. It's a huge step forward. And for certain games, it's going to be huge.
It absolutely, and it is it's a graphics technology. I'm going to try to explain what it is without getting ridiculously technical about it, but
this is the super nerdy moment of the podcast. So please bear with us.
Well,
this is like, you don't even know about this stuff unless you're like a tech and a film geek. So without being either one of those things, you probably won't have any idea what this is. So
it has to do with lighting. It has to do with lighting scenes, and so it's actually been ray tracing itself is not new. It's something that's been used in film and in CG graphics for a long time, but the hitch with that has always been that it takes a lot of processing power and a lot of time to process to actually create that scene. Because what it is actually the computer is tracing rays of light in the scene that emit from light source and then bounce around the room, and it's tracing whatever you set it to, a certain number of bounces or a certain number of rays emitting from a source. And so using this technique, they can get accurate, they can get more photorealistic lighting in a scene. Of course, as you can imagine, that takes a hell of a lot of processing power. So it's been incredibly impractical to use in games, which, you want to render 60 frames per second. You don't have the luxury of, taking several hours to render a single frame of your movie. So the fact that they're able to somehow optimize this technique to the point where it could be used in a graphics card to render at 60 frames per second is blowing my mind. I'm not gonna lie. As someone who's done CG graphics before, and knowing how long that takes, it blows my mind. But this is another step toward getting photorealistic graphics in games. And if Cyberpunk 2077 is gonna make use of this, holy crap, hold me back.
I think because it's only been announced, I suppose it could be added to a fair bit of tech. So we'll see. That I'm not so familiar with. I'm not I'm not a poor engine programmer, so I don't have that. But I would assume that this is going to be pretty huge. So if you've created a hardware system for this, and this is definitely a hardware system, you're not. They said that there's a patch that will allow for some ray tracing technology, but really you need the new technology that the new hardware is bringing in. So this actually means that current graphics cards will be outdated as soon as a big game comes along that has this stuff in. Now, that obviously, I'm sure that they'll have an on-off switch for some of it, but if you want to run that technology, you're not going to be able to make do. Even with a brand new card, you're going to need the new card in which this stuff is enabled. So if you bought a card a couple months ago or a month ago, unfortunately, it looks like that is going to not be what you need to run this latest technology on the new thing. And I mean, so far we don't have any games coming out with this. So this is still like a year away. So as far as like people upgrading their personal computers, their PCs, yes, there's going to be some time for that.
But there's no need to rush out and get it.
As far as consoles go, if this ray tracing is a huge thing, and if it's a huge thing by this time next year, and neither of the consoles have the ability to even run this stuff, do you know how far you're going to be behind? Like, do you have any idea how far at this point you're going to have a laptop is going to be able to run games way better. A midway laptop that you buy in, a year is going to have the ability to run ray tracing and lighting effects that you can't even run on your PlayStation Pro.
I have
on your Scorpio Xbox. You just can't run it. So that means that they need new hardware, and this is huge.
I have a few things to say about that, but I want to get to some of our comments in chat because there's a ton of them. So Max Mouse says, it is no big deal that the PS5 might come out next year. I'm excited. Can't wait to get it. Darth Raver concurs. Says he's getting it day one. So, all right. So, not everybody's upset about this announcement, or this leak, rather. It's not an announcement. It was a leak. Max Mouse says, I just hope the PS5 will rival the PC. Well, it'll rival a lot of PCs. But, I mean, will you be able to build a PC that's got, that it's more powerful than a PS5? Well, obviously, you'll be able to if you have the money for it. But I imagine it'll probably be a beast as far as graphics. And then there was another comment from Darth Raver. Oh yes, so they need to make an upgradable console, like have the CPU, GPU in a part of the console that can be detached and upgraded. Yeah, like a modular design. I think people have been talking about this for a while, and I even heard people
for
talking
years.
about
for years talking
about building modular phones at one point, and I don't know where that idea went. I don't know I don't know the business aspect of it. Like, it seems like a good idea on its surface for you to be able to pop out the graphics card and put a new one in. You get it from the company. It's got proprietary connectors, whatever. You just shove it in there, so people aren't, building their own home brewed PlayStations or anything like that. But you can just pop it out, pop the new one in without having to buy entirely new hardware. Seems on the surface like a good idea. I don't know what complications might lie therein. I don't know if you have any comments about that, Saib.
So from a marketing standpoint, this is not a great idea because of the issues that you run into with technology. So when somebody releases a game, and this is the problem that you have on the current Androids. So on the Android phones, if you put out a game, you have literally hundreds of variants of technology that's out there. Mm-hmm. If you're releasing to the iPhone, you only have you have a very small number. The number's in the tens, and basically it's easier to build something for what the most common audience is. But if you have replaceable parts, then you don't know somebody's going to buy a game, take it home, and go, sorry, I can't run this game because you need to upgrade your graphics card from the 2.0 version to the 2.2 version. You buy the 2.2 version, and then the next day the 2.4 version is announced. So this is the kind of stuff that makes people really angry as consumers, but then as creators and programmers, you're constantly you're basically beating your head into a wall. And this is why this is never taken off. This is why consoles are the way that they are, is because it simplifies the process for the consumers. It simplifies the rules for the consumers. You need this console to run this, and this will run on this console, period.
Right.
And everybody is happy with that. Everybody likes that. Everybody feels that this is
that said,
acceptable.
If I can play devil's advocate for a sec, is it really so complicated for people to figure out that, I need the Gen 2 processor or the Gen 2 GPU for this.
Yep.
And so if I want this new game, I've got to just order the new processor. They could even bundle it with the game, maybe.
Yeah, way too complicated. Way too complicated. The problem with it, what you just said there, is that if you're bundling it with the game, well, then there's people who don't need that, and they're now annoyed that they go to the store and the only copies of this thing that they have is this thing. Now,
well, no, they
physical store
it's like
purchases
bundle
are
it like
down,
they
but it's
just like they bundle games with consoles. Like, you can get the game on its own, or you can get it bundled with a console. Like, you could get it bundled with this upgradable part that you need for it, or you can get it on its own. Anyway, I'm just thinking out my rear end here, but it seems like that wouldn't be too complicated. But
it is far too complicated for the average consumer. We've talked before on how the average consumer is an idiot, and I hate to say it, but it's so true. It's so true. Like people barely pay attention to things that are very important in their day-to-day. And
the views of Obsidian represent his own opinions and do not necessarily reflect the Triple S League. Anyway.
Basically, yeah. But essentially, in the quick answer to that is no. It would cause too many issues, and it's been worked around in the companies before, and they've always come down to the same point where it's like, yeah, basically this isn't going to work. Like, it doesn't work on their own testing field, and their own testing field is filled with people that understand this stuff at a slightly higher level than other people, and so yeah, this just wouldn't fly. It just wouldn't fly. So there's no way I could put it where it doesn't fly enough. I think I'll leave it. I'll leave it there at that.
All right. So Berean Revolution, welcome by the way, says definitely getting PS5 day one. So there's no among our audience anyway. There doesn't appear to be any animosity about this. So. The origin of the salt in this case remains a bit of a mystery, but that's all right. What's life without a little mystery? Don't answer that side, please. We don't have time. Berean Revolution says, this E3 is going to be so epic. Sony and Bethesda will have my full attention. Yeah, us too. I'll watch your guys' live stream coverage of them for sure. If you'll be doing that, yes, we will. Absolutely.
Yes, we will. And
we'll be covering
people. We have people that will be on the show floor this year. It will not be us. Most likely at this particular moment, it will most likely not be us. But
yeah, we're trying to collaborate with another channel to get some stuff from the show.
We will have people who are representing and who will be sending us some limited, they're going to be sending us some footage on the show floor. So it's going to be great. We will have stuff both on the show floor and then also live reactions. We're definitely going to be doing that. Mm-hmm. And we will definitely be restreaming and co-streaming those kinds of things on top of everything else that's coming out about it. We're going to have tons of trailer breakdowns and topic points, and we're going to be showing this stuff nonstop as much as we can, because this is going to be an epic E3. I like, even if the PlayStation is reserved till next year, the games alone this year are massive, and it's going to be awesome. So I'm looking forward to this immensely. It's going to be great.
Right on. David says Stephen Ogg should be at E3. I hadn't heard that, but that would be cool. And yes, lots of comments about how awesome E3 is going to be. Yes, absolutely it is. I'm super stoked for it. I am super stoked. I haven't been this stoked about E3 since the E3 for Fallout 4 was showcased. Now, what was that, 2015? So
yeah.
I hope we get some Bethesda leaks pre-E3. I'm dying to see if we're getting a new Bethesda Game Studios game or not. We covered this a couple weeks ago, and I believe the answer is yes, we will be seeing a new Bethesda Studios game.
So, yes, yeah. Definitely, 100%. Yes, we are Bethesda Studios at this point. I've been watching, because I was really disappointed with the hype that came last year. Last year there was a lot of hype, and then nothing happened. Literally nothing happened. We got 2 games that we already knew were coming out. And there was absolutely nothing new or vastly interesting at last year's E3 for Bethesda. However, I've been paying a lot of attention to what Todd has been saying in podcasts and in public, and he has definitely been alluding to the fact that they have a new game coming, that they have a new IP coming, and that it's going to be really, really good. He's also mentioned several things in a recent podcast. He confirmed that that one of the Bethesda studios, they have more than one, is wrapping up work on a current project. And he said wrapping up in so that means that this game is coming out this year. This is the game that's going to be announced, and if Todd has his way, is going to be available to download and buy the week after, right? So if he gets his way, this is the game that's going to be that. This game is built on a slightly upgraded version of the latest version of the Fallout 4. So some people are going, "Ooh, really? Really? That's bad."
But you know what that means? You know what that means? That means modding, and that means machinima.
Yes, that does mean both of those things. And you got to remember that the engine right now has been upgraded fairly considerably since Fallout 4, because the additions and the DLCs that they made to Fallout 4 were good enough that, I mean, now you can play it in 4K, now you can do all this other stuff, you can really ramp up. If you have a really good engine, you can really ramp up the tech on it, you can really upgrade the graphics on it. So please bear that in mind.
By the way,
however, more exciting than this, he's confirmed that the second title that they are working on is the one that they've completely redone the engine. Like they've taken the core aspects of their engine, the Bethesda engine, and they have upgraded it to fit pretty much everything that they want to put into new games in a new generation of consoles and computers. So that means that they're working on this right now. So that means that, you know, as of a couple of weeks ago, they probably already started adding in ray tracing and that kind of technology. And that game is still a few more years out, but that their studio who's wrapping up gets to see that technology that they're working on for the new engine, and they're really, really amazed by it, and they're really, really excited to get working on it.
Absolutely.
So this confirms that they are working on that, as they've said for years now, they're working on 2 new games. And while one of these games might be Elder Scrolls 6, it's definitely not the one that's coming out soon. The one that's coming out soon is expected to be their completely new, and they promised a completely new IP. So we will see that, and it's possible that the next game we'll see. It's possible that they've, you know, it's quite possible that their next game is in fact Elder Scrolls 6 after this current one. So we're looking at like probably 2020.
That would be cool.
Which does make sense, which does make a lot of sense, and which would put them in line. So I suspect strongly what we're going to see is we're going to see Starfield, because this is the one that keeps on getting rumored and keeps on getting talked about, and some inside sources are saying that this is the one coming out, and that it's going to be some kind of space RPG, and it's going to be about building and living on a space station, something. That I would not take that as gospel. I would take that as rumor at this point, because I highly doubt that Bethesda is let that slide. The leaks that came out, if you remember the leaks that came out about the supposed Fallout 4, were completely bogus. So I think this is also completely bogus, or it was like a super early draft of it that just eventually got out at some point. So right. I would say what we're going to see is we're going to see this new game. And then we're going to see a release of this year. And like I said, if Todd gets his way, they're going to release this thing in like a week or a week after. We're probably going to see a new app game launched. I think we're definitely going to see that.
More likely, yeah.
More than likely, we'll probably see that as well. And we might get a teaser of what they're working on next, but I highly doubt that, because that's not their style. So yeah, so that's basically what I think we're gonna have. We're gonna have a whole bunch of announcements for new DLC, new expansions for Prey. We're gonna see probably one more final content drop for Wolfenstein. We're probably gonna see at least something Fallout 4 or Skyrim related. It's kind of like a regular thing now. Is probably see something along that line, and then they will announce their big new game. And from what I'm hearing, I think Todd's going to be on the floor this year. So Todd's probably going to come out, probably going to deliver another fucking awesome speech.
Well, that's tells something about. I mean, yeah. Last time he did that was for Fallout 4. So that just okay. I'm getting overhyped now, people. I'm getting overhyped. I asked you to hype me up. Now I'm ready to explode, which is awesome. But and yes, Reed Gamers will probably see a release date for Cyberpunk announced at E3. We don't know that for sure. Like we don't know that as it's not a leak or any official info, but that just logic dictates that that's probably when it would happen. Thank you so much for all of the wonderful activity in the chat. I mean, if you want to keep the conversation going when we're done the live broadcast, we welcome you to join our Discord community. You can find the link in the description below. We've had quite a few people join recently, and it's been a lot of fun talking to you all. It's a place where you can chat with us and other Triple S League fans about all the things we love to talk about. You can meet people to game with, stay up to date on everything we're doing here at the Triple S League, and be sure to say hi to us in the welcome channel. And by the way, you heard me getting a little bit excited about Machinima earlier, and so I just want to give a bit of a pre-announcement. I'm going to announce that we're going to be announcing something very exciting really soon.
We're going to be announcing two things that are basically they're in the same vein. We have been quiet on this because we haven't wanted to overpromise again, but we have two big announcements coming soon, and they're around the same stuff, but they are two completely different things.
Two completely different things. They both have to do with a very popular game.
Kind of thing.
Yeah.
So huge two new. Now we're really excited for this. So I'm going to lower my excitement before I say something I shouldn't, and I'm also going to say that for someone to please, Revolution in the chat has reminded me that that we really should do probably either in the next podcast or sooner. We should probably do a breakdown video on why we're not going to see Elder Scrolls 6 for probably until 2020. And there's some very specific reasons as to that, and it's something that most people already know, but just to kind of cover it, just so that I think it's pretty interesting and informative. So remind us to at some point talk about that.
Okay.
So,
all right, to sort of take us through to the end of the broadcast here, we're just going to rapid fire a few other news items here. So there's been something going on in Fortnite, something mysterious, something that people have noticed that's sending.
I got
chills.
Epic
I got
right
chills
now.
up my spine when you told me about this.
So right now in Fortnite, in their Verdant battlefield map. In the battlefield map, there's an area that you can look up and you see a comet-like light source, and it's been getting bigger over the past few weeks. Every time there's a patch, it gets a little bit bigger. And this is really interesting. There's been some crazy theories going around. Epic hasn't said a darn thing on it. The other thing that's been happening is that people's rumble packs in their controllers have been going off in random spurts. And this has been, Epic said, "Oh, sorry, this is a bug. This is nothing to worry about. It's just a bug, guys."
I wonder how many people went and bought new controllers because of that.
Yeah. Now here's the funny thing. If you assume that the controller the rumble pack is going off and that it is in fact a code, in fact it's the probably most familiar code known to man, the Morse code. If you assume it's the Morse code and you listen to it, it actually does spell out something pretty interesting. So it spells out SOS space D space 5 space 418 space or end. So SOS, everybody knows that you don't accidentally get an SOS in Morse code. That's not like statistically, the chances of like an animal accidentally banging out SOS is like astronomical to the extreme. So that kind of says that Epic is probably just not being truthful. D5, now this is an interesting thing. D5, as you know, the map is set out in a grid format. And if you open up the grid, there's actually D5. So there's a particular spot on the map where there's D5. 418, could most likely mean either, for 2018, which would be April 2018. So this would be coming in 2018, or maybe even it's April 18th. So that's right now. That's what we have, kind of looking at this. And Fortnite, we're starting to do a little bit more Fortnite content. So if you've enjoyed our Fortnite content before, you'll be happy with some of the streams and stuff we're going to be doing with Fortnite. But this is really interesting. SOS D5 418. This is such a cool little thing to add to video games, and I wish that people would add this stuff more often.
That is really neat. Yeah.
This is not only is it brilliant, it's just cute. I love this, and this is why I think Fortnite has now surpassed PUBG. So yeah, congratulations to them, and congratulations to them for this. And please keep it coming, Fortnite. I enjoy this kind of content. So
what day of the week? That's a Wednesday, so that's one of Curie's streaming nights. We'll have to make sure she's playing Fortnite that day. By the way, Curie Mask, our new streamer, which a number of you have met already. She is now streaming 3 nights a week, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, and then Saib and I are filling in Mondays and Thursdays. So we actually have every weeknight now we have a gaming stream. I was streaming Tomb Raider last night. It was a lot of fun. Curie's on tonight. That begins at 5 p.m. No, sorry, we changed the time. 6 p.m. Pacific time, so whatever that is in your local time zone.
And it really helps us when you guys log in and tune in and leave a comment or like. That stuff really does help with the analytics and stuff like that. And the adpocalypse is still a day-to-day general concern that you still have to be careful and worry about. So it really helps us. And so thank you to everybody who shows up in the stream, or who at least pops into one of our previous streams and at least leaves a comment. Pick a random time to watch a video, watch it for 2 minutes, and leave us a thought on that 2 minutes that you watched. That kind of stuff does help us a lot. It helps us to improve, and it helps us also with the algorithm and getting more people to see that content that we create. So thank you so much.
To answer your quote or your statement there, Darth Raver, and you also, Barian, I can neither confirm or deny that we know more about Cyberpunk 2077 than we are letting on. But that's not the game I was talking when I said we have 2 major announcements having to do with a very popular game. That's not Cyberpunk related. So
is it? Dun dun dun. But no, seriously,
not saying there isn't more exciting Cyberpunk stuff. We've got a lot of stuff going on in the background that we haven't really talked about. Maybe a little too much for this. At this point, it's like this morning I had to be like going through with Ash pre-show, going, okay, so we can talk about this. Do not talk about that because we can't talk about that. Do not talk about that because we're not allowed to talk about that either. And whatever you do not mention this at all because we will get played publicly and then probably quartered in a certain Polish square. Which I'm like, thanks for filling my head with all this information I can't talk about just before we go live. so it's like we have our contacts.
We hope that all of our information that we always give you is 100% accurate. Certain things are subject to change, like the multiplayer. So we made an announcement about the multiplayer and the social hub zones. That was current. However, that may not be current because, as Adam has said, they are looking at branching out. And this information we gave before the big run on, battle royale stuff. So things can change. So just remember things that can change, and that we're calling this now that multiplayer could most likely have a tweak done to it, so that social hub may alter in some way to what was originally planned. So stuff like that, just bear that in mind, But as far as our character classes announcement, this is a big one. We announced the character classes. We announced character customization long time ago. We said we had a leak. We said we've had it confirmed, and this was called into question. This was openly ridiculed, and then it was openly confirmed by the CEO himself. So this is nice. This is nice when this happens. So
Yeah.
We try to confirm everything that we give you.
And we don't know the release date of Cyberpunk 2077. Just FYI, we don't know whether or not it's coming in 2018 in any official capacity. So
that we can speak of. So
right. So anyway, so there's some more news. There's some more news.
So Steam machines have been officially dropped from the Steam product store. They are no longer selling them, and also nobody noticed this.
Interesting. I just bought a Steam Link. And so it was actually last week. I was like, should I buy a Steam machine or should I buy a Steam Link? And I decided on the Link because I was like, I've already got the hardware. All I need then is to just connect this thing to my TV, and then I can play my Steam games, which has been really nice. It's nice to sit upstairs with my wife some evenings and game up there, even though it forces me to use a controller, which makes aiming really difficult. Drives me crazy. But
I don't know how people do it.
There are some games which I have a few games where the controller is better, but I was trying Tomb Raider and some others where you need precise aiming, trying to get headshots. It's like, dang it. How do people do this? I don't know. And yet, thinking back to our Halo days, like that's all that we ever did. So I don't know. Anyway, so Steam machines are no longer a thing. Well, that's interesting. I wonder why. Maybe they just weren't selling.
Well, I think they did a poor job at marketing it, and I think also the control schematic was wrong. I think they should have thought outside the box. Now that's difficult to say because technically you can tell anybody that fails in a project, well, you should have thought outside the box. But I mean that thinking outside the box is something that I mean a lot of people try to do and fail miserably. And so it's easy to say it because hindsight's always 20/20. But in this particular case, I think they should have taken the chance. They were already taking a big chance, so they might as well have gone all in and tried to redesign something about it that would have made it different. So, but at any rate,
yeah.
it's not like Valve is hurting for money, guys.
Yeah, exactly. So
they
just
pull in
weren't
billions every year. They don't need to care about that. That was a side project that they kind of hoped would go somewhere, but they didn't exactly put a lot of investment into it. So
the Sea of Thieves still pulling in a lot of players despite some lackluster coverage of it, or lackluster in terms of reception to it. Mm-hmm. So
the reviews were pretty bad. A lot of people's experiences with it have been annoying as far as the lack of content. But something that I'll tell you is that it's still pulling in a lot of views. It's pulling in a lot of views on Twitch, and it's pulling in a lot of people who are playing it, and it's still pulling in a lot of people who are buying it. So clearly there's something there, and there is a massive content patch on its way.
Well, and I'm looking forward to that. I do really enjoy the game. That's probably the number 2 game where I can just sit and sail the ship and just enjoy sailing it around, and it's especially fun when you're playing with people. I'm looking forward to there being more content added. That's the only thing that's missing, is that there's a lot of big empty space where not a lot is happening, and so it needs more content, but I do enjoy it, and I'm hoping to join Curie's stream on Wednesday. So tonight and Wednesday, Curie's going to be streaming Sea of Thieves. I'm hoping to join in on her stream on Wednesday. I'm not 100% sure if I'll be able to, but it's definitely, if I do, we're going to try to take one of the fortresses. That'll be fun.
Mm-hmm.
So
I mean, if they can add a lot of new content very quickly, like if they can bring out a really solid patch within a week or two, that'd be really great. Unfortunately, one of the first things I heard that they're working on is they're working on pets. That is also a microtransaction. So they're going to have free pets that you can buy with in-game currency, but there's also going to be pets that you can buy with microtransaction. And to me, that kind of like that's, I mean, I'm really hoping that that's not the main feature of one of their patches. It better not be a main feature. Otherwise, I think that'll be kind of a slap in the face to a lot of people. I am hoping that their patch will come out with several new ships, that they will kind of redesign the way that progression is done, or fucking add it to the game, in any way, shape, or form. that they'll add that to it. That they'll add in some enemy ships, like legitimate enemy ships, not just player enemy ships, but like add in some add in some Royal Navy ships, add in some other pirate ships, add in some skeletal pirate ships.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be
Flying
awesome.
Dutchman for bloody sakes.
I do believe there is an NPC faction coming.
So all this kind of stuff, they really need to get on this stuff. They should add factions to the game quite quickly. They should add 2 separate pirate factions that you can work towards. So right away you have a choice. Do we want to support these pirates or do we want to support these pirates?
And then you're enemies with the other pirates rather than... It's kind of a free-for-all right now.
It's a crazy free-for-all, but then if they could also add in a Royal Navy faction, and then for you to work your way up to become privateers instead of pirates, that would be something really cool. I think that is something that would be really, really cool.
That's what I heard is that there is a faction coming that's something like the Royal Navy, so people you're going to have to escape from, run away from, or fight. Like the law, the feds, the fuzz. The fuzz is after us.
So I mean, great game in general, but they need to add more content, and they need to add more real content. Don't add more like pets for money. That's just that would just be such a bad move on their part. That would just be like tone deafness as far as that goes. That would be horrible.
All right, and then just one final thing. So there were some...
Speaking of loot boxes,
there were some anti-loot box legislation that we thought might be coming in the United States, and apparently it has gone nowhere. So
it has failed, which means they will have to try to reintroduce it. So some generalized critiques. First of all, it wasn't a federal congressman. It was just a state congressman, or however they
Hawaii, right?
Do that. Yeah, it was Hawaii. Now, clearly they need somebody on more of the national stage to bring this to note and to bring this up to people. It was kind of okay that the gaming ESRBs actually attempted to the fact that they sent representatives there was kind of a generalized good move, but then that good move was completely blotted out by them just openly saying, yeah, it's nothing to see here. So it was kind of poor on their part. And then also the representatives, they didn't really do very much reaching across the aisle, which is very understandable in the current climate. That would be frowned upon. But I think this is one of these issues where it's like I don't know of anybody who's actually, aside from the people running it, I don't actually know of any person who would say it's okay to have a casino for Star Wars geared and aimed directly at 10-year-olds. I really find that hard to believe that would be a partisan issue. I think that's the way you say it.
Partisan? Yeah.
Yeah, I really don't think that this. Well, I was trying to.
Well,
I was wondering about context there, but not to get political, because we don't
children,
want to get political,
but I mean, if children are not allowed to buy lottery tickets for obvious reasons because they don't have the maturity to deal with that kind of thing, it does make sense that there should be some restrictions on loot boxes and things like that, and something put in place, because to at least have that label on there that lets parents know, this has microtransactions, this has, this has loot boxes.
I felt Martin has put in the comments here about extra credits. I was really annoyed with how they kind of just said, "Hey guys, no, it's okay to give the company money." It's like okay, it's kind of obvious that they were probably asked to put a positive spin on it. I would be very surprised if that's their real feelings, or if their real feelings had not been influenced by something. Not that I'm calling them out, I'm not. I was just fairly disappointed. I expected a little bit better from them, because when you have tactics that are created and designed and have been utilized on a psychological level to make people more addicted to gambling, that's as bad as a company knowing that, you know, they're putting in something that's addictive into their food and going, oh, well, let's make this addictive substance even more addictive so that we don't lose our you know, so that it's harder for people to stop using our product. That's along that same line, and that is a line in the ground that should be drawn. And if you cross it, it's not like a slap on the wrist. It's not like a that is a serious degradation to society in general. For people who study like societal changes and stuff like that, like high level or highly addictive things have never been good for a society ever. Like as it is, they have to be regulated. Otherwise, they have an over negative effect on the country or the society as a whole. And so there's certain things that you have to regulate. You know, alcohol needs to be regulated. Drugs need to be regulated. Sometimes they need to be, you know, freed up a little bit. Then sometimes they need to be clamped down on a little bit harder. Like it's always a give and take that you want to take with some of the more addictive vices, right? Vices are something that humans do regularly, and there's not been a society that's ever been able to successfully remove all forms of vices from their population. It just has never happened, and anytime that they attempt to do so, it always results in usually what ends up resulting is that the next generation swings hard into the vices. So it's stuff like that. It's like it just doesn't work. It has never worked. Don't ever expect it to work. I don't think it ever can work.
And Berean says psychological manipulation for profit equals theft. That's an interesting perspective on that. And again, I'm a very I'm a proponent of low government intervention in general, and just people letting people do their own thing and live their lives and make their choices. But you do have to consider children, and you do have to consider people who have a weakness in certain areas, which
we know
most of us have, right? Like most of us.
Yeah, well, it's medically proven that some people are predisposed to, you know, certain forms of gambling, and it's not like, you know. It's not like when you have somebody who's predisposed to alcoholism. First of all, it's a really hard thing to figure out. And also we have, you know, remedies for it in most cultures have some form of remedy for it if somebody really wants to get a remedy for it. But in this particular case, if you know that what you're doing is going to result in really unhealthy habits forming in children, and you just go ahead and do that, like, what's the difference between that and somebody who sells you like baby formula that's gone bad and you know it's gone bad, and you know that most likely it will result in severe physical and mental damages. Like, you sell that's not just theft. That is putting somebody in front of a freight train and saying, well, none of my business. It's like no, like this.
Well, yeah,
thing called common decency.
To use a kind of an extreme example, but it would be like spiking children's candy with crack or something.
Nicotine,
like whatever, you know. That's an extreme example, but like spiking somebody's spiking something that somebody's going to consume with a drug to get them addicted when they had no intention of doing that to begin with, and especially if it's a child, that's messed up. And obviously that's a lot more. We've got to move on from this, but
yeah, we do because we could talk about this forever, and we do get into the point where it's like I legitimately there is a room for gambling. Absolutely, I'm not saying that there's not in games that there. I mean, gambling's been around for a really long time, and like I said, it's very unlikely that you stamp it out, and I don't think you want to stamp it out completely. But you should not. There's a difference between having it available for adults and directly aiming it at something that's mostly played by children. Like there is a big difference there. There's a reason why you can go to the horse races and bet on horses. There's a reason why it's illegal in most places to go to a high school and bet on high school games, right?
Yeah.
Like there's a significant difference between those two things. So yes, absolutely, most companies deserve to have the right to have it in their products, but they shouldn't be able to aim those products at children and do so knowingly. That's where the big difference is.
No, absolutely. Some good comments in chat about this. Unfortunately,
Absolutely.
we need to.
And please let us know what you think about this. This is absolutely a very touchy subject for both sides. Like there's a lot of people who identify one way or the other on this particular issue with the loot boxes.
It's not an easy topic. It's not an easy topic.
No,
but there's a lot of.
I know there's a lot of people who are okay with microtransactions for cosmetics, and then there's people who don't even want that in, and I think that's fine, because I don't think most cosmetics warrant being free. But when you can have a specialized thing, then it seems to work quite well, and I mean that's fine. I think that's great. Like League of Legends was built on that, and they did very, very well and have done very, very well. But yeah, so anyways.
A few minutes ago, there were some great comments in the chat, just complimenting our channel and talking about how they're looking forward to what the future holds. And I just want to thank you guys so much, all of you who write those kinds of comments. Also, those of you who just tune in and listen and support our content. This means the world to us. Honestly, when we started 2.5 years ago, we didn't know if we were going to be at this point, if anyone really was going to care what we had to say about things, whatever. But you give me the feels, seriously, when I read comments like that about how much you appreciate what we're doing here. It makes all the late nights and all of the stress and all of the mistakes along the way, it makes it all worth it. So I just want to thank you so much for your support. And that's all I can say about that. And we're committed to continuing to try to deliver quality content. And, we have, like I said, we have announcements for some stuff we've been working on that we just hope you enjoy. So we really, really have been working hard for you guys, because that's what it's about. And that's what the Discord server is about. Just wanting to build a community that loves gaming and loves all this kind of stuff that we like to talk about. So that is what I have to say about that. So thank you for the great conversation in chat today. Don't forget to like and sub if you appreciate this weekly content. If you're listening after the fact on iTunes or SoundCloud, on iTunes, we appreciate you subscribing and reviewing the show. On SoundCloud, thank you for your follows and likes. And hey, feel free to join us on the live broadcast, which, as we announced last week, and I should announce here, we are looking at possibly having to change the time of the live broadcast. So look for an announcement about that on our channel sometime very, very soon. As soon as we know, we will let you know what time you can tune in and find us live, where you can interact with us and other listeners and be a part of the discussion. Oh, by the way, there's a live stream schedule up on the Discord server now. I just added that, so every week we're going to update that, let you know what's going on as far as the live streams. The Augmented Reality Podcast is a presentation of the Triple S League. Check out our YouTube channel for game guides, reviews, comedy, news updates, and tons more quality gaming content. My name is Asheninity. On behalf of Obsidian, thank you so much for listening. We will talk to you next week.